Well, good morning, everybody. It's amazing. It is a gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful spring day out there. The sun is shining, but we wanted to get together and just have a beautiful conversation. I have an amazing guest who I've just recently met, LeiLani. She is from the beautiful Langley, BC, where I hear all the cherry blossoms are starting to come out. And so magical spring is happening everywhere, just at different stages. So I wanted to just take a few minutes just to quickly do my best to introduce my new friend and my new guest here on the podcast. And I kind of was having fun reading her story, and a girl with this beautiful dream and a woman with a purpose and a vision. And there's been many chapters in from this 12-year-old girl all the way up to this beautiful, inspiring woman that she is today. And we're going to let her share a lot of those details and what that looks like. And she's really gone from being in the beauty industry and the movie industry. But she's been redefining what that is, from being in the movies and working in LA and then back in Vancouver, even on some really cool sets that I can remember. But also taking that vision and realizing that there is that connection back to that inner beauty, to that inner soul and that spirit. And so she's really been taking her work in that direction, leaning into the planet, leaning into the wellness. When we're putting things on our skin is the biggest organ in our body, and we are gathering, from nature, from the sun, from the air, from the earth. But she's also knowing how important it is of the quality of these products that we are using to make ourselves feel amazing and beautiful and wonderful. So and then we are going to dabble into maybe a little bit about, perimenopause and hormones. I'm always curious because I'm in that stage in life, and how that can be really helpful. What we're putting on our skin and how it kind of goes into our system and affects us in different ways. So I would love for you to share a bit more about this journey of this beautiful young girl into where you are today, and let us know some of the different paths that you've taken, and how you allowed them to lead you to where you are today. Welcome.
Wow. Well, thank you. That's quite the introduction. I'm really happy to be here. I love chatting and working with people that are here to redefine our health, our inner and well-being.
Yeah.
Um, I never set out to have a company. I own Sweet LeiLani Cosmetics. It is a clean, plant-based, vegan, gluten-free, fragrance-free, cruelty-free line and entirely sustainable with recycled sugarcane tubes and 100% biodegradable cardstock packaging. So we always say better beauty for you, your health, and the planet. But
Mhm.
yeah, I work in film and TV. I'm a hair and makeup artist, and I loved it. It was a dream at 12 to go to LA, and I did that. And actually, when I was 16, my grandma passed away. And when we were sitting in the funeral home, I blurted out that I would be doing her hair and makeup because I always did. And I thought everyone was going to fall off their chair, but I insisted that I was going to do it. And I remember walking out of there thinking, wow, this felt so good to make somebody feel so good. I might want to do this. And so I put it in my back pocket and off I went to LA. And I worked on some really big stars, some really big names. Came home, worked on ones like you said, Jump Street, Wise Guys, MacGyver, all of those TV series. But I realized that in in film and TV, everyone focused on glamour. It was very superficial. And even today, we're bombarded with superficial standards. And I remember thinking, well, what about people who, have skin issues and stuff? And so I started volunteering with the Look Good, Feel Better program with the Cancer Society. And I soon realized that a lot of people didn't want to sit around a table with everyone. They just wanted a little bit of help and to get on with their lives. And so they would ask me if I would help them style their wigs. So I'd been styling wigs for stunt doubles, so I was really good at styling wigs and I loved it. So I started styling wigs out of a bedroom. And then, of course, they started asking questions about makeup. They were undergoing treatment. Their skin was blistered or raw or sore or itchy. And I had kitloads of makeup from film, and it didn't cut it. It was full of chemicals. It was full of
Mm,
stabilizers and gunk. And I remember thinking my two biggest mistakes at that time was how hard could it be to create a product and how hard could it be to take it to market? It was very hard. But I think I was a little ahead of the curve in even knowing what clean beauty would mean to the everyday woman today. So back then, I created a hero product that was a skincare cover, and
mhm,
it worked so well. I was selling it to other makeup artists. I was selling it to the cancer patients, and I was still volunteering my time. And I thought, wow, what about everybody who's been burned or scarred? So I started going around to the burn and trauma units and plastic surgeons and just anybody who would listen, because I thought that there was definitely a missing piece in the market for people. And I was met with a lot of men at that time that said, it's just makeup. They need to get on with their lives. But
mm,
but at that time, I had had people slowly trickling in from word of mouth, and I had husbands that were hugging me, crying that their wives would go out in public again because they felt whole. And this wasn't about covering up. This I was never about covering up. This was about, we have a bad hair day and we grumble. So can you imagine what it's like for some of these people that
mm,
they just want to get on with their lives. They want to get back to work. They want to, they've been through tragic injuries and accidents and just trauma. And yeah, and so that's kind of, and then interesting enough, when I first came back from LA, I was trying to get into the union to work in the film industry. So I started going around to all the funeral homes because I thought, well, I could maybe do makeup until I got into the union. And I found out quickly you had to be an embalmer. And I didn't want to be an embalmer. So, and side note, I ended up teaching the embalmers how to do makeup for loved ones as
mm.
part of my career. So it's just funny how, yeah, my life just went off in all different directions. And yeah, that's my story.
Well, I think what's interesting to me too is I feel like you were really, without even realizing it, probably very guided by your intuition, guided by that pull, to go out. And you weren't, maybe you were afraid inside, but at the same time, you were you're not afraid to be vulnerable and to go out and go, I'm going to show up as me. And I feel a calling to, like you said, with, some of the traumas of, cancer patients and burn victims and the different accidents and things, because it does change a person. It changes how you see yourself. And, I have someone very, very close to me that has, at a young age, at 36, gone through breast cancer. And I remember sitting with her, and she was sitting with a hairdresser and getting looking at wigs,
Mhm.
and she couldn't even do it. She's just like, she's a gorgeous, beautiful hair, long, long, almost to her butt. And, I'm just sitting there going like, how, like, it was such a place with almost no words. And you could feel her identity and her pieces of her just falling away as she's sitting there going, I have to lose all of this, and I have, how, why, all the questions. And she always holds herself together so beautifully and presents herself so amazingly. So to have that be taken from her, she had control and she felt like she had no control.
No.
And it was life changing. She ended up not actually losing all of her hair. She only lost about maybe 20%, which she was very, very lucky. She did something really amazing. I don't know if they do it much anymore now, but cold capping. And, but it was still, she found a way. She was super determined. She's like, it is not going to take this from me. And so that inner determination which, some of us lose when we go through these really tough times. And it feels like you've kind of seen that, whether
Mhm.
it's in the movie industry, which inspired that, and then seeing real life and the combination. And I mean, I can't imagine um, being able to work on someone who is deceased to make them feel amazing and beautiful, or for the family more than anyone,
Yeah.
and for the dignity of that person and for their destination. For me, I don't know if I could connect to that, but I understand um just kind of the gift in that
Yeah. Well,
that
I've always said that over the years, it's been like 35 years, I'm aging myself, but how makeup transforms us on the outside.
Yeah,
But over the years, I became very aware of how it transforms us on the inside. And it is more
yeah,
than makeup, it's therapy. It really is. It is about our inner and outer well-being. And that's why now I'm on a mission. I want to be an advocate to redefine beauty because we need to take a more holistical approach,
yes,
because we're putting on anywhere from 12 to 20 toxic products a day between our body care, hair care, face care, you
mhm,
name it. And as you said, our body is our largest organ. And
yeah,
what's happening is it's affecting our kids going through puberty with their breast
mhm,
tissue and their menstrual cycles. It's affecting young women with their reproductive systems. It's wreaking havoc with people in peri and menopause. And it's
yeah,
just doing terrible things on our hormones. And if you take it a step further, there's people that are getting sick and they go to the doctor and they're having test after test and nothing's showing up.
yeah,
It's the toxins that's making them sick. It's affecting our autoimmune deficiencies. It's like
mhm.
it's a bigger discussion when you start going down that rabbit hole.
Well, and I think that's it, absolutely. And when we had the conversation the other day, about you're connecting people back to nature in a very different way than I am, but you're going back to the basics. And I was, looking at some of your ingredients like grapeseed and green tea and rose hips. I mean, I go out and I'll, harvest some rose hips and dry them, and they just got this incredible properties of vitamin C, and they're so great for the immune system. And I mean, the rose petals, of course, before even that, are also very beautiful for so many things in our body. So, connecting to that, what the gifts that nature has for us, all of the plants and the different things that are there, and it's been there for us forever. It's just not we've kind of had that disconnect
Yes.
of, you know, thinking that we can't use it for certain things, or oh well, it'll take, I don't know how to do that, so I'm just going to go this other way. And there was a big movement, and a very fast movement, and now that I find, and I've got so many people that it's coming back around and using these products that are so nature based. It feels amazing. It
Mhm.
makes you feel more vibrant and more alive, I feel, because you're connected to nature, to the plants, to what it has there as a gift for us.
Yeah.
And that's where you're talking about the inside out. And our skin, I find, also really tells us what's happening on the inside,
Oh, it absolutely.
right?
And I use the analogy of a celiac. Like a
Yeah.
celiac can't eat anything with gluten. Now, some of them, maybe there's mild symptoms, some very severe, and in some cases it's life-threatening. It
Yeah.
goes the same for makeup. They cannot
Yes.
have gluten in something they're putting on topically. So
Yes.
if that doesn't tell you what these toxins can do, we need to educate. We need to, you know,
Mhm.
even men need to know. Men have daughters, they have sisters,
Yes.
wives, like,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So that's sort of my mission is to, and there's a misconception out there that natural or organic can't perform. I'm in the movie industry. That's all I use is my stuff.
Yeah.
And even actors are demanding better beauty products in their trailer because they're the ones wearing it for 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
So that's such a misconception that they can't perform or wear as long, or I
Yeah.
it's just the big companies projecting that out there.
Well, and you're not afraid to go, hey, I'm actually going to challenge you on this one because I have done the deep dive. I mean, you've been in doing this without realizing exactly what you were doing since you were 12. And who knows, maybe even before that, you were here with a very deep soul driven purpose to bring people into a container in a very different way. It's like me taking therapy outside of four walls into the trails and nature and by the ocean and into the, into these beautiful sanctuaries where we can actually step away from those, expectations and those labels and all of those things, and we can become who we're really here to be, and we can strip those pieces away with a beautiful support network and guidance and love and nurturing. And you're doing the same exact thing. You're teaching people a new way, and it's not a way that the world is used to, but that's okay too, because that's very important, and it's becoming more and more and more important. And like you said, I mean, that 12-year-old girl that you're inspiring 12-year-old girls and who are coming into puberty. And I mean, look at what the world is giving them now compared to what we got
Right.
at 12 years old, right? It's just they're bombarded with everything, all the time. And it's like, well, there's natural ways. If you want to wear the makeup, how about, let's look at these so that maybe your periods aren't as horrible, these things that maybe your acne is not as bad because you're actually putting things that your body can understand
No,
on
absolutely.
it.
And what's interesting is people are putting huge amounts of money out on, you know, diets or shopping at Whole Foods and shopping organic and going to yoga retreats and paying for therapy, and they're out in nature and they're doing all of this, and then
Yeah.
I'm shopping at Sephora for the makeup. Like it just
Right.
doesn't make sense.
Well, and it doesn't, and it's interesting because it's a journey, right? And so it doesn't make sense, but eventually it does make sense because they kind of have that aha moment going, oh, now I know what she was talking about. I remember that conversation. I remember seeing something. This is what she meant. Oh my goodness. And that is that reconnection to, like you and I were talking, to that inner energy, that inner fire, that inner beauty.
Right.
We're taught to connect on a very superficial outer level, but we're not, and you're taking people in.
Trying, yes.
Yeah, you are. It's a process, it's a journey, right? And you have this vision, and this vision keeps refining and changing and growing all the time. And it is not a linear journey. You don't
No,
hop on this and go, okay, I'm going to go down this path and that's the way it's going to be. It's much like a river. It's windy, it's twisty, it goes over, it's got waterfalls, it goes around all kinds of rocks and things in its way, but it always finds its way to its destination, whether it be a lake or an ocean.
oh, I love
And through perseverance and through determination. So when we lean into that energy in nature,
yeah,
that's within us too. I mean, we are 75% water in our body. So when we're by a body of water, we're very deeply connected and we can
right,
understand that journey.
right. Oh, I love that.
Right. So yeah, something a little different, right? And we're connected to the seasons, all of the elements of nature. And
Yeah,
so you're doing that by the products what you're choosing to put in your products. And like you said, a celiac can't have makeup that has something that is going to affect them because it's going to affect their skin, which it's
exactly.
going into their body,
Exactly.
you
And you
know?
know what? I know it's time to make the switch, and we need to make the switch, and people have drawers full of makeup and they're just overwhelmed and they're like, where do
Yeah.
I even start? You, you don't you start small, you take one step. The next time you
Yeah.
run out of your mascara, research the
Yeah.
company that you're buying from the next mascara. You run out of a lipstick, then it's the next time to buy a lipstick.
Yeah.
Um, and just start reading the labels. And consume consumers are very savvy, but consumers are getting very fooled because these big companies are walking a fine line, and they're saying, maybe they're cruelty free, but where they're sourcing their raw ingredients is where the animals are harmed, or it's where there's child labor and they're sending the children into the mines to source that mica that's in their pressed powders.
Mm.
So, you've got to really research companies, and we need to ask for more transparency.
Mhm.
And just because they're natural based doesn't mean they're natural. And just because they're
Mhm.
natural doesn't mean they're vegan. And just because they're vegan doesn't mean they're sustainable. It's just they're buzzwords. So people think, oh, they're everything. Okay. So,
Yeah.
it's up to us to educate, and it's up to us to be conscious and read these labels, and yeah, make a better, there's also, we forget that you jump in the shower, you wash your hair, you wash your makeup off, and all those toxins and those micro bubble beads that are in your eyeshadows and stuff are washing down the drain. They're getting into our waterways, they're getting into our food chain.
Mhm.
And now we're eating that fish that just absorbed all those toxins. It's such a vicious cycle, and we never think of it from beginning to end. We just purchase it and that's it.
Is it, it's interesting because, I talk about the power of the pause and inviting people in to be, because we're doers and we're consumers and we're doing all of these things. We're living such a, even more so now, very fast-paced life. Very instant gratification. We've got to, oh, I see the thing, I'm going to go buy it.
Yeah.
Instead of, okay, well, I see the thing. Should I maybe just sit there with it, be with it, read about it, research it? Maybe I need to meditate or ground. Maybe I'll wander along the beach and I'll be like, okay, like, does this actually really feel good?
Right.
We just do, and we don't actually often think about those things. And because we've been taught even about the quick fixes,
Yep.
and so it's interesting because it's giving that invitation, and you have seen it. I mean, you've been in Hollywood, you've been in the movie industry for, like you said, about 35 years doing this, so you have seen so many different layers of what's actually going on out there, and you have come full circle back to simplicity and stripping things back and actually looking beneath the surface. And when we're healing, I always say it's like an onion. We've got the layers of the onion, and those layers go on forever and ever, and each layer there's something new, and you're doing exactly the same thing. You've been stripping back these layers, these beliefs, these group norms, these things that are going on a bigger global level. And yeah, maybe you're one person, but you're going, hey, wait, actually, I have something to say. Can I show you? Can I educate you a little bit? And even if someone only takes one tool,
No,
one piece of information, right?
absolutely. And it's so easy now. Back then, um, I had to go around with video, the old video, to show the doctors the
Yeah,
before and afters, like we just didn't have the platforms that we do now, that
no.
we can be educated. It was, yeah, it was, I believe me, there were so many times where I just thought, I'm just banging, my head against the wall. But like I said, I was in the trenches working with these patients, and I could see
Yeah,
what it was doing. And I was like, no, I got to keep going. I got to keep doing this. So,
yeah.
um, at least now people are more open to it, and they are listening, and there is a lot more people moving in the direction of wellness. So that's good too.
Well, and we're looking at wellness of the whole person. So the mind, the body, and the soul, or the spirit, whichever you want to call. And there's very many layers to that, right? So, like you said, we can go and do all of the shopping, and we can do all of the things. We can get the right clothing that has bamboo and special cottons, and making sure that we're not, doing that piece, and we're nourishing our bodies with the best nourishment we can put in it. And then comes that other piece. Let's nourish our bodies by what we're also putting on it,
Yeah.
and allowing ourselves to absorb. Um, I don't know why this comes to mind, but you think, going out and, like people will do a full body mud mask and
Right.
things like that. I mean, back in the day, it was literally you're going out in the back 40 if you wanted, and you're going to get like the real raw mineralized mud, and that's what you were going to use. And like you said, now it's gone so far from very nature, as nature intended it,
Hmm.
to something that's been like all these additives in it. It's so interesting because it became so far from its origination, and you're taking us back to that origin of where things started.
Right, right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm on the mission.
Well, but it's an important mission, like you said, because it's helping people to heal. And you've not only worked on, like you said, in Hollywood and on movie sets and things, but you're now worked with people who are have gone through really severe traumas and injuries, and it's it's often really hard for people to look in the mirror again and reconnect to themselves after, cancer or burns or all kinds of, I mean, accidents and in traumas, because they don't know who they are anymore. They're
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
those other versions of themselves, which were not meant to be those other versions, but they don't know who they are now. And how do they connect to this new person that they see before them?
exactly. That's exactly what happens. Yeah.
So
So,
what so what are some of the things that you really see with, some of your clients that are facing that? Like, what do are they vulnerable? Do they break down? Do they, like, what do they have to say to you that has really been impactful and makes you really want to keep doing what you're doing?
I don't even think there's words.
Yeah.
It's when that tear rolls down their cheek.
Yeah.
They don't need to say anything,
No.
or the tear rolls down their cheek, but the smile comes with it, you
Yeah.
know? Or like I said, their husbands hug me.
Yeah.
So humbling. It's so humbling.
Yeah.
I remember when the kids were little and, they'd act out or whatever, and I'd be like, no, no, you want something to bitch about? I'll take you down the halls of the burn unit, and they
Yeah.
tell me what you have to bitch about, because it
Yeah.
did just it humbled you to the core. And I'm grateful that I was never book smart. I never set out to have a company, like I said to you, and I never I went right from school to hairdressing to makeup, and it's just so wonderful that I can use that craft for
Yeah.
good, to have a purpose, because when you're growing up and you feel like you're not book smart, that then you
Mhm.
can't be anything or do anything, and
Yeah.
um it's just been so fulfilling that I was able to take that and actually do something more with it.
Well, and it's really interesting because I mean, I totally resonate with you on not being the book smart. And I was told, being told that, you're not smart enough or you won't amount to anything because you're not book smart or whatever it is, right? But that's the thing, is you weren't afraid to be like, okay, well, maybe I'm not book smart, but you went into a trade, you went into something where you were hands on, you trusted that pull into something. Or you could have said, okay, well, I guess I'm not smart enough to do anything, I won't do anything,
Mhm.
right? But that pull was stronger than that saboteur, right? It really took you in a direction you would probably never had any idea that you would be in all of these places when you were, setting out to do this,
Absolutely. I know.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
absolutely. So, I just I love the fact that all my volunteering turned into a company now that is alive because there's a need. And
yeah.
that's so fulfilling at my age now.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, yeah, it's kind of
It's
cool.
beautiful. It's beautiful, and I mean, there's still going to be many more layers to it that come, and we are collectively shifting a
Yeah.
lot, and I feel like we're actually shifting very, very quickly.
Yes,
And
I
so
agree.
hold on.
Yes, I agree.
It's like
Yeah.
hold on to the reins.
Yeah.
Um, but it's also something that, is really, really, really important, because as the world continues to change and as we um, are opening space to allow people to come back to themselves and connect in a way that they never have, on every level. It's really important. And I bet you, even working with, all different facets of spaces, and you're seeing things very differently than, say, 30 years ago.
Oh,
Um, you
absolutely.
know,
Absolutely.
and what is it like, if you're kind of looking at where we are in the world right now, where do you feel your deepest mission and your deepest energy is flowing right in this moment that we find ourselves?
I think the education part of it.
Mm,
With our company, we're all about education, and uh, we have a platform that, I still do the pro bono work. You can email into support@sweetleilani.com, and if you're going through any kind of trauma or undergoing cancer treatment or really need help in
yeah,
that area, please reach out because
yeah,
we're here for you. The product comes, it's secondary. My passion is all about this overall well-being and to continue um, to be that aid for
mhm,
people going through this. Um, and then the product just comes second. And what's so beautiful is we've had so many people switch brands because they believe in what we're doing, and they believe that by purchasing our product, they're in turn also helping because it allows me to continue my pro bono work. So
yeah.
then they become part of the journey, knowing that they've put some input into helping others as well. So it's really been very cool, really cool.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I mean, I have two sisters and two daughters. So I'm just like, wow, like it's amazing stuff, right? And I'm just starting to get to know some of the work that you've done and are doing. And it's really inspiring because I know, like I said, as a woman, kind of at the end of my perimenopause and turning 50, I'm kind of like, wow, like I look at it very differently than I did when I was, a teenager. I mean, I wish I had this knowledge when I was that teenage girl, but I have a
Right?
16-year-old and almost 20-year-old now, and I'm like, well, but now there is more knowledge, so I can hand that over and say, hey, you girls love to, they don't wear very much at all, to be honest. Mostly just like mascara. But,
Yeah.
at the same time, it doesn't, I can say, hey, I've got this, I met this lady. This is what she's all about. And you can kind of pass it along in the information.
Yeah. And
And people,
sorry, and they're still washing their face.
yeah,
They're still putting moisturizer on.
yeah,
So this isn't just about people wearing makeup. This
no,
the shampoo, the body care, the
yeah,
body lotion,
the
yeah.
whole body, the whole person, right?
Body.
Yeah. And
Beautiful.
it's huge and it's really important. And I love that you continue to educate because that's what we're needing, is that education. And we're needing people who like you are very willing to, lead us down that path of education and awareness and understanding. And you continue to learn and grow along that path too. Um, so if somebody is, they're questioning and they feel at kind of a, I don't know, maybe a fork in the road and they're frustrated, they feel terrible, they're just ugh, like things are just not great. What is something that you could inspire them to, like you said, they could reach out and ask, what is something you could inspire them to, kind of lift their chin up a little bit and be able to step forward into, your space or into just, you know, wondering and being curious about more.
Yeah, first step, take the first step, reach out. Let's
Hmm.
talk. Let's find out, what it is you're looking for, asking for, needing for.
Yeah.
And then that's the first step. Then we'll take
Yeah.
the second step, So
Yeah.
yeah, just reach out.
And what is the best places that people can find you? I know you're kind of on all of the spaces.
Yeah. Well, although we're in health food stores, I chose mass market for a reason. I wanted it to be readily available for everyone.
Hmm.
I didn't want it to cost a fortune.
Yeah.
So that's another myth, is that just if you're in a drug or grocery, it can't be good. That's so not true. So you can find
Yeah.
it in Save on Foods, PharmaSave, Rexall. Um, and we're in BC and Alberta. That's our most saturated areas, and pockets
Yeah.
across Canada, and as well in areas in the US. So uh, yeah, yeah, just
It's
make the
beautiful.
switch one
Yeah.
product at a time.
Yeah, and I think that's less intimidating when you think of it that way too. Because, like you said, it's like, oh, I already spent hundreds of
I
dollars and
know,
I've got all this stuff.
I know, I
You
know.
know, so it's about reinvesting in yourself and
Yeah.
taking it, like you said, I when you were saying one step at a time, I always think of, when I take people on a healing journey, we look at this big mountain and there's no way we're going to climb it in one step. We're going to wander one foot in front of the other, one step at a time, and take the path, right? And we'll stop and we'll enjoy the view, we'll all the things. So it's very similar. You just take that first step, know that, hey, maybe my mascara is running out. I would like to try that.
Yes.
Educate yourself on that one piece, because otherwise I think it's probably overwhelming, to be like, oh my gosh, like, I can't educate on all the things because it's too much. But
Yeah.
let's start here, or the foundation, or the cream, or the cleanser. What is the
Exactly.
most important? And I think we know the answer, within ourselves, otherwise we wouldn't find ourselves asking those questions, right?
Exactly,
So
exactly.
yeah,
And you know
beautiful.
what? And it doesn't have to be complicated. Our
Yes.
our brand is very simplistic. Like for instance, we have a foaming facial cleanser that's a body wash, face wash, makeup remover, and a shampoo. And the reason for this is because, say, for a cancer patient, they're not going to want 10 items. And it's wonderful. You throw it in the shower, it helps with dandruff, psoriasis, and that's the thing. You don't need 101 products.
Yes.
So,
Which is, and it's beautiful. And like you said, I mean, it's all biodegradable. It's all of these things that are so important, because, our earth is having a hard time carrying a lot of this empty waste, but not even just the earth, our bodies are having a hard time carrying that. So it's definitely, we're the earth and ourselves, we're mirroring each other, and you are, holding up yet a new mirror and going, okay, but there are other ways of doing this.
there are.
So
There are
yeah,
other ways, and this is our small way of
yeah,
helping our generations to come as well. Sometimes
yeah,
you're like, well, there's so much going on out there, the planet, that this Earth Day's coming. What can I do? It's that tiny. Don't
yeah,
wash that chemical shampoo down the drain. Get a
yes,
shampoo that doesn't have chemicals. It's that easy, but see, we don't think that way, right? We're
yeah,
just been so different,
yeah,
made to look at it a certain way all these years. So yeah,
yeah. And you know what? The invitation to allow yourself to think differently and to be raw and vulnerable, and, just be curious, super curious. And, it's that childlike sense of wonder, when you wander out and everything is amazing and new and beautiful, and you want to bring that back. Be
yes,
that curious in all stages of your life, and see where it takes you. I mean, it can take you many amazing places. So
certainly can,
yeah.
certainly can.
Oh, amazing. It's just so amazing to have you on here, and just for people to get to meet you, and for me to learn more, and just having that, that real raw conversation, because it's really important for us to have those conversations and to share the journey and to inspire others to be, authentic, and get out there and live their purpose and their dream. We all are given those for a very specific reason, to help and nourish people in ways that are, beyond what you see at face value,
You said it.
right?
You said
Yeah.
it. Well,
I'm
I
so,
appreciate
yeah.
it. Thank you for letting me spread some knowledge today with you.
Oh, I'm just so grateful. And I'm sure we will be having more conversations, because there's lots to talk about
Love
always.
it. Love it.
So I will leave everybody all the information on how to get a hold of you, your website, all that kind of stuff, your email. And so, you will see people coming in with some questions, I'm sure, and, you get to take them on the journey.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.